There's a family in Boston that's been wealthy for over 200 years. Through wars, depressions, market crashes, and technological revolutions, their wealth hasn't just survived, it's multiplied. But here's what's fascinating. They don't drive the flashiest cars. They don't post their lifestyle on Instagram. And if you sat next to them on a plane, you'd probably never know they were worth hundreds of millions. Meanwhile, 70% of wealthy families lose their fortune by the second generation, and 90% lose it by the third. So what do these multi-generational wealth holders know that lottery winners, athletes, and new money entrepreneurs don't? Today, I'm breaking down 5 old money habits that have kept fortunes intact for centuries. Habits that anyone can adopt, regardless of where you're starting from. Let's dive in. Now, before we start, I want to be clear. This isn't about glorifying aristocracy or pretending we live in Downton Abbey. This is about studying proven patterns of wealth preservation that have worked across centuries and extracting the principles that matter. These habits aren't about being born rich. They're about thinking like capital, not like income. And that shift in mindset, that's available to everyone. Hit that subscribe button because we're getting into some serious wealth-building psychology today. Habit number 1. They think in decades, not quarters. The first habit is this. Old money families think in decades and generations, not fiscal quarters or election cycles. There's a famous story about a Rothschild banker in the 1800s who was asked about his investment strategy. His response? "I invest for my grandchildren." Think about that mindset for a second. Most people are worried about their next paycheck. Savvy investors might think 5 years out, but old money families are making decisions today that won't fully materialize for 30, 50, even 100 years. This isn't just philosophical, it's practical. When you think in generations, you make fundamentally different decisions. You don't panic sell during a market correction because you know your great-grandchildren will thank you for holding quality assets. You plant trees whose shade you'll never sit under. Let me give you a concrete example. The average investor holds a stock for less than 10 months today. 10 months! But families like the Gettys, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts who maintained their wealth, they held core assets for decades. Here's how you apply this today, even if you're starting from zero. First, separate your money into buckets. You need immediate access funds, sure, but then create an untouchable bucket, investments you commit to not touching for at least 10 years. This might be index funds, real estate, or even a business. The key is removing it from your emotional decision-making. Second, make at least one financial decision per year with a 10-year horizon. Maybe it's buying your first rental property. Maybe it's maxing out a Roth IRA. Maybe it's starting a business. But ask yourself, will my future self thank me for this decision a decade from now? The wealthy families that last don't chase trends. They build enduring assets. Habit number 2. They obsess over asset preservation, not income maximization. Here's habit number 2, and this one's counterintuitive. Old money cares more about keeping wealth than making it. New money asks, how much can I make? Old money asks, how much can I afford to lose? This is why you see these families in boring investments, municipal bonds, blue-chip dividend stocks, prime real estate in stable markets, timberland that takes 40 years to mature. These aren't sexy. They're not going to 10x in a year, but they're not going to zero either. I learned this lesson the hard way. Early in my investing journey, I made 40% returns one year on some aggressive tech plays. I felt like a genius. The next year, I lost 60% trying to repeat it. What did I learn? That preservation beats home runs when you're building generational wealth. There's an old saying in these families, the first generation makes it, the second generation maintains it, the third generation destroys it. The reason the third generation destroys it? They focus on spending and flash instead of preservation and growth. Here's the math that matters. If you preserve capital and grow it conservatively at 7 to 8% annually through diversified investments, you double your money every 9 to 10 years without taking enormous risks.
That's the magic of compound interest that Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world. How you apply this? Never put more than 10 to 15% of your investable assets into any single high-risk investment. I don't care how good the opportunity sounds. The families that last don't go all in on anything. Build a defensive core portfolio first. Think 60% stocks, 30% bonds, 10% cash as a basic framework. Then you can play with higher risk opportunities on the margins. And here's the big one. Create systems that protect you from yourself. Old money uses trusts, family offices, and legal structures. You might not need those yet, but you can use automatic investments, separate accounts, and even accountability partners to prevent emotional decisions. Wealth preservation isn't glamorous. That's exactly why it works.
Habit number 3. They weaponize delayed gratification. Habit number 3. Old money has mastered the art of delayed gratification to an almost pathological degree. There's a concept called stealth wealth. You've probably seen it without recognizing it. The billionaire in the 15-year-old Mercedes, the trust fund kid shopping at J. Crew instead of Gucci, the family living in the same house for 3 generations. This isn't about being cheap. It's about understanding that real wealth whispers while fake wealth screams. Research from Dr. Thomas Stanley, who studied millionaires for decades, found that the average self-made millionaire drives a car that's 3 years old, lives in a house worth less than 3 times their annual income, and spends less than $300 on a suit. Compare that to the average person making $75,000 who's financing a $50,000 car and wearing $500 sneakers. Old money knows something crucial. Every dollar you spend on status is a dollar that can't compound for your future. They'd rather look middle class and be wealthy than look wealthy and be middle class. You know the famous marshmallow experiment? Kids who could delay eating 1 marshmallow to get 2 later had better life outcomes decades later. Old money families are essentially doing the adult version of this every single day. Here's how to build this habit. Implement the 30-day rule for any non-essential purchase over $100. Write it down, wait 30 days, and if you still want it, buy it. You'll be shocked how many things you don't actually want after the dopamine spike fades. Automate your savings and investments first, then live on what's left. This is called paying yourself first, and it's how you build wealth while feeling like you're living paycheck to paycheck, because you are, but your future self is getting rich. Finally, redefine luxury. Old money knows that true luxury is freedom, time, and options, not logos and likes. A person with $5 million invested and a modest lifestyle has more luxury than someone with $500,000 and a mansion they can barely afford. Habit number 4. They invest heavily in education and networks. Habit 4. Old money treats education and relationships as their highest yield investments. And I don't just mean degrees, I mean cultivating knowledge, skills, and networks that compound over lifetimes. Why do you think these families send their kids to the same prep schools for generations? It's not just about the education, it's about the relationships formed at 15 that turn into business partnerships at 40. The Kennedy family is a perfect example. Joe Kennedy Sr. didn't just make money bootlegging during Prohibition. He used those resources to send his children to the best schools, connect them with influential people, and give them educations that open doors for generations. But here's what's important for us. You don't need to go to Harvard to apply this principle. Old money knows that your network is your net worth. But it's not about collecting business cards. It's about building genuine relationships with people who challenge you, support you, and open doors you didn't know existed. Here's how to apply this habit today. First, never stop learning. Wealthy families invest 10 to 20% of their income in education, whether that's courses, books, seminars, or coaching. If you're not spending at least 5 to 10% of your income on becoming more valuable, you're leaving money on the table. Second, be strategic about your associations.
You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If those 5 people are broke, unmotivated, or cynical about wealth, you're fighting an uphill battle. Third, play the long game with relationships. Old money doesn't network for immediate gain. They build relationships over years and decades, help people with no expectation of return. The universe has a funny way of rewarding that. I've seen this in my own life. Some of my best opportunities came from relationships I invested in years before they paid off. That's not luck, that's strategy.
Habit number 5. They create systems and structures that outlast individuals. The 5th and final habit, old money builds systems and structures that transcend any individual family member. This is the secret sauce. This is why some families stay wealthy for 200 years while others implode in 20. Old money families have family constitutions, actual written documents that outline values, decision-making processes, and rules about money. They have regular family meetings where they discuss finances transparently. They have governance structures that prevent any one person from destroying what generations built. Example: the Rockefeller family, now in their 7th generation of wealth, has a family office that manages billions, regular family councils, and clear structures for how wealth is passed down and managed. It's not left to chance or individual brilliance. Now, you might be thinking, I'm just trying to build my first $100,000. This doesn't apply to me. Wrong. This is exactly when you start building these systems. Start documenting your wealth-building philosophy. Write down your values around money. What's it for? How will you use it? What rules will you follow? This becomes your family constitution, even if it's just you right now. Create legal structures as soon as you can. Maybe that's an LLC for your side business. Maybe it's a trust when you hit certain net worth milestones. Maybe it's just having a will and power of attorney. Don't wait until you're wealthy to think like wealth. Finally, build redundancy into everything. Multiple income streams, diversified investments, skills that transfer across industries, systems that run without you. Old money never depends on one thing, not one person, not one investment, not one strategy. The goal is to build something bigger than yourself that can survive your mistakes, your bad days, and even your absence. So there you have it, 5 old money habits that create generational wealth. 1. Think in decades, not quarters. 2. Obsess over preservation, not just growth. 3. Master delayed gratification. 4. Invest in education and networks. 5. Build systems that outlast individuals. Here's the truth. You don't need to be born into wealth to think like wealth. These aren't genetic traits, they're learned behaviors, and every single one of them is available to you starting today. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one of these 5 habits and commit to implementing it this week. Not all 5, just one. Maybe you set up automatic investments. Maybe you start a 30-day rule for purchases. Maybe you write down your wealth philosophy. Leave a comment below and tell me which habit you're starting with and why. I read every comment and I want to hear your commitment. If this video added value, smash that like button and subscribe because we're going deep on wealth-building psychology every single week. And if you want to go even deeper, I've put together a free resource guide with specific action steps for each of these 5 habits. Link is in the description. Remember, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. I'll see you in the next one. Stay wealthy, stay wise.